Why are some exchanges still not being transparent about their proof of reserves?
At least all the major ones are doing the proof of reserve, but whether it's audited or not.
Even if they do have it, is it enough to prove solvency?
A lot of exchanges are not exchanges, they're brokers.
How many of them are actually in control of their own liquidity?
Very few, less than 10%.
That's
Maybe even less,
crazy.
5%.
I'm coming from a PR angle. I run Luna PR. The way you handled crisis was exemplary. Do you feel like you received the support that was required after the hack?
As of today, the Bybit has returned to where we were. When we talked to regulators, they were all quite happy about how we handled it. Moving forward, we can only be stronger.
What are some of the key takeaways the community has perceived?
All the players, they need to invest way more into supply chain cybersecurity.
Number one is don't f up. Number two, you need to always stay ahead of the curve.
Stay ahead of the curve. How are both of you preparing for the rise of AI and the more hacks that could come along with it?
What I am personally afraid of is when Gen AI will start to find new vulnerabilities never discovered.
Most of the hacking cases we've seen are all social engineering. They have nothing to do with technology.
That's crazy.
They even could be a girlfriend that you recently meet or a boyfriend. You never know. I don't trust you, you don't trust me. And let's not trust each other.
Wow. Hi everyone, my name is Nikita Sachdev, and it's my pleasure to conduct a very special interview today with two renowned figures in the Web3 space. I am joined here today with Zhou, the CEO and co-founder of Bybit, and Dyma Budorin, the CEO and co-founder of Hacken. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pretty crazy couple of months. It's kind of surreal to think it's already been more than 2 months. First off, how are you feeling?
Feeling good, busy, and been a stress week because token 2049 is happening as we speak. A lot of people here in Dubai, but yeah, this is good.
Getting enough sleep?
Not enough sleep.
Not enough.
Nobody's getting
Not
enough sleep.
What about you, Dyma?
Yeah, all good. We focus on regulation, and I see that this case pushed a little bit regulators to act more proactive, and I see that more and more exchanges start to think about how to not to get in this situation and how to mitigate those risks, how to bend it.
Dyma, you dived straight in there with the regulation. I want to take it back to around roughly 3 years ago after the F word collapse. I'm not going to say it. After 2022, we just realized so much about proof of reserves. Why are still some exchanges, centralized exchanges, still not being transparent about their proof of reserves?
At least all the major ones are doing the proof of reserves, but whether it's audited or not. So I think the industry already expect you to do proof of reserve for sure. So if exchange is not doing it, it might be not a good signal. For whatever reason, maybe they're not technical ready, I don't know. I think the industry is kind of expect you to not only have a proof of reserve, but also audited by a third party to show that, you know, you're not just putting a bunch of token that you borrowed or whatever, you know, to show the size. So I think this is quite critical, and that's kind of the norm now. Actually, I'm not sure if it's the norm. I don't know if all the exchanges have the major ones. you are the better person.
Not everybody is doing from the major ones that are doing the audit reviews.
Okay.
This is what I thought. But even if they do have it, is it enough to prove solvency?
I would say like it's a good step for sure, but for the proper like solvency audits, you need a full scope financial audit. But my opinion of why exchanges are not doing, because like a lot of exchanges are not exchanges, they're brokers.
Right.
So basically they take user deposits and they transfer it to exchanges where there is more liquidity, and they basically mirror in the order books of other exchanges, and that's why they cannot do the proof of reserve.
Yeah, because essentially they're depositing the asset into another exchange. Yeah. Right, yeah.
So let's dive deeper into that. So traditional markets seem to be so transparent, right? I mean, the amount of paperwork, the amount of information that you have to disclose to the public is far beyond what we have currently in the crypto space right now. Why is that?
I want to say that traditional market is not more transparent.
Really?
It's more paperwork, but do you really look at the paperwork? But if you look at the crypto exchange, we are actually more transparent. Everything's that you can check, so you can actually go down a rabbit hole if you want to check as an investor to see exactly how much money they have. In traditional finance, banks only keep up to 20% reserves. Bybit 100%. If it wasn't for that, we won't be able to cover the client's loss so fast. So I think this again proves that actually in a lot of sense, crypto is doing it more advancedly. But of course, they have more paperwork, more protocols to follow. I guess that's my view.
Yeah, I agree from the exchange point of view, but we definitely need more transparency for the tokens, especially for the circulation supplies, for investors, for the annual reports of the token projects, like to know what is the treasury.
That's what I was getting at, kind of like,
Oh, you
it's
mean
like
that,
the
yeah.
reporting, the annual reports. I feel like we don't really see much of it in crypto. Of course, it's transparent because everything's on the blockchain and it's easy to track. You can't tamper with it. But do you think the industry is going to move that way with more regulation? Do we need to move into that direction?
I personally think yes, we need, at least to understand the biggest wallets of the project. For example, the recent Mantra case, like when the price dropped drastically, it was because somebody sold, and the industry should know who did it. And I believe, in traditional world, everybody knows the founders, how much shares they have, biggest investors, how much shares they have, and if they sell, everybody knows that. In crypto, I believe at some point we should have the same situation. And actually, I see that regulators are slowly but moving there.
You talked about the Mantra case really quickly. Did we see that coming? Were there any warning signs?
That's a good one. It didn't look differently from any other similar project before it had happened. So I believe such thing can happen with any other billion market cap token.
Back to exchanges. Out of the 500 exchanges or over 500 exchanges that are listed on CoinGecko, how many of them are actually in control of their own liquidity versus brokers? Because Dyma, you touched on this just earlier, that not all exchanges are operating as exchanges, they're operating as brokers. So how many actually have ownership of the liquidity?
Very few, less than 10%.
Wow, that's
Maybe even less,
crazy.
5%. Yeah.
That's
Because
insane.
liquidity is super hard to build.
My approximation is very the same.
Yeah.
5-10% maximum.
We talked about, disclosing information. Like, how can users like me have that information?
I think a lot of these local exchanges, if you go to them, tell you. For example, we work with a few exchanges in Europe, Bitpanda. They have broker license, so clients will easily know that they're a broker, and they will tell the clients that the orders has been passed, whether to a global exchange or to a market maker. So there's nothing wrong running a broker model, and it's very established, it's licensed. The issue with the broker model traditionally has always been they don't pass the order, and they become the counterparty of the client, and then they have an incentive to screw the client to make some money because then they can do so, right? That had been the issue even for forex, for non-crypto in the traditional world. I think, but again, it's super hard to build liquidity. If you look at the top 3 or 5 exchange, and you see a new player coming in, why there's no new exchange popping up? It's because the liquidity barrier is the hardest.
Really?
When
I
you
thought it
start a new
was
exchange,
maybe
you gotta
regulation.
you need to get retail first. Without retail, market maker is not going to come. But without market maker, retail is not going to come. So
Chicken and egg.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There is nothing wrong to be a broker, and Bitpanda actually they are not listed at CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko specifically because they don't want to be associated as an exchange. But if there would be some parameters and definition what is cryptocurrency exchange at CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, that would definitely help.
How does this compare to traditional stock markets? How does liquidity on exchanges compare to liquidity on stock markets? And what's the trend heading towards?
Traditionally, you typically have one, the Nasdaq or the Shanghai exchange and the Tokyo, and that's kind of where the liquidity happens. And then you have brokers just passing orders, right? Crypto gradually would fall into that category as liquidity start to concentrate. And then we do see more and more brokers coming out, especially in local regions. When you see Europe is getting MiCA license and all these other places are issuing license. Broker license is actually one of the hardest licenses for people, because you don't need to worry about liquidity or that. As long as you have local impact, you can gain users locally through operation, marketing, whatever. Then you don't need to worry about liquidity, and you just plug it in onto global, and then this is already kind of form. Not everyone just go to one place, right? Yeah.
You are seeing a shift into the crypto markets kind of taking form of how traditional markets operate. And what about like a more convergence between the two spaces? We've already seen a lot of crypto assets listed on traditional stock markets, but what about traditional assets listed on crypto exchanges? For example, could there ever be an Apple stock option on Bybit?
We have it.
Okay, great. So,
but it's a CFD.
Okay, right.
So we cannot offer we have a CFD license, but we cannot offer because the actual stock. So there's a difference. So for example, on Bybit you can trade gold, forex, indices. Recently, gold has been pumping. A lot of clients. We're the only exchange that offers that because we offer a CFD product. The different CFD, you're only buying the up and down, and you cannot get the stock. So if you buy Apple, it goes up and make money. If you're shorted, it goes down, you make money. But you cannot just say, hey, I want the shares to transfer to my brokerage. So currently, we can do that and treat it as a CFD financial instrument. But in order to be able to actually do the broker, you need to have a broker license, and then you can only service the clients in that region. When it comes to real stock, like the actual thing, you need to break it down to different countries, different regions, and license. It gets a bit more complicated.
You recently moved to Abu Dhabi from Lisbon.
Yes, I did.
So I want to change up the topic here. First of all, why did you make that move?
I loved Lisbon. Yeah, so I spent there 2.5 years. But when you got into routine, then your life go faster.
Right.
So I wanted to go to Abu Dhabi because of regulation.
There's so many countries that are looking into how the UAE is doing it and kind of reflecting off of that. This region has been such a massive hub for so many Web3 projects to come here. How do you think it's helped Bybit, and how has it contributed to Bybit's growth, if it has?
It has definitely. And so Bybit was one of the first crypto company. We were actually invited by the Minister of Foreign Trade, back in end of 2020. And then when we first came, there was no crypto company. When I met the minister, he said, the UAE is trying to build a crypto hub, and he's inviting all the big players to kind of lead the way. And look, so we made a deal, we shake the hand, and then I said, I'm going to move my headquarters here. So now I think it's about 4 years. We have about 200 people here. I think Bybit is probably one of the largest crypto players here in the UAE. And now we're expanding into Abu Dhabi, but again, I think it was one of the best decisions we've made because back then we didn't know what UAE was going to become, but then we can clearly see the leadership is very determined, and when they make a strategy, they execute. And even you look at the crowd for token. I mean, I think the first year you felt like, oh, it's not even relevant compared to Singapore. I feel like this year is going to overtake Singapore. I mean, this year is crazy, right? So overall, there's so many people, so many crypto companies moved here. I mean, a lot of the whole industry is here. Influencers, they're living here. I mean, so it's really too good to see the progress it has made. So I definitely agree with Dyma. I think their approach worked from bottom up. You kind of build the community that way. The community is here, and then they will contribute and they will help. And gradually, you have that incubated already.
And after all, Web3 is all about community.
Exactly.
And do you feel like you received the support that was required after the hack on a government level?
Typically, the regulator wouldn't help, but they would immediately ask us and to see is everything okay. But all my regulators globally, we've given them our financial audit, and they know we work with Dyma and Hacken on the proof of reserve audit. So they were confident. They know we can cover the thing. So because they have our books. So they were confident, and then more or less they were like, okay, do you need some support on security and things like that? And then more importantly, kind of lay out what's our plan next for the cold wallet, since it was a third-party issue. So no, I think, but really looking back, so as of today, the Bybit has kind of return to where we were in terms of liquidity, volume, and everything. Actually, when we talked to the regulators, they were all quite happy about how we handled it. And I think moving forward, we can only be stronger. Yeah.
Overall, on a broader scale, do you think that the Web3 industry, that the community overall has learned something post-hack? Like, what are some of the key takeaways that you feel like the community is has perceived from this?
First of all, it's like it wasn't hack of Bybit. Previously, exchanges were thinking that, okay, we're gonna engage cybersecurity firm, they're gonna do the pen tests, maybe we will add bug bounty and that's enough. But that's not enough. And exchanges and all the players, they need to invest way more into supply chain cybersecurity. So to understand all the vendors, understand all the critical elements of your infrastructure and various dependencies from your vendors, and do also the security checks very in depth on that. And also, of course, operational security. Bybit, operational security is not the case of Bybit, but is the case of many other players that have been hacked recently.
It's kind of scary to think that in just the month of April alone, we've seen so many hacks. I think it was like over $300 million in hacks alone in April. It seems to be, with the rise of AI, we're seeing more hacks. How are both of you preparing for this, for the rise of AI and the more hacks that could come along with it?
I would say that AI, like at the moment, AI automates attacks, automates vulnerability research. It doesn't invent new ways how to attack, but it gives hacker, both white and black hat, powerful tools to research simultaneously on different targets. What I'm personally afraid of is when Gen AI will start to find 0 days, like new vulnerabilities never discovered, and that thing is scary. And the only thing we can do is continue to feed our ML that we obviously are building, and to see how it can progress. At the moment, our AI cybersecurity product acts as the middle, sometimes senior security researcher, but I see that probably in half a year, 1 year, there will be way more powerful tools.
Ben, what about you? Have you had to hire more developers that have expertise in AI to kind of just get prepared for this?
We use a lot of AI in the exchange. In many areas, that's kind of proven, right? So everyone knows the big term AI, but what exactly does it do? The low-hanging fruit for exchange is we have massive, I think 200 people does quality control and testing. Basically, when we develop a product, they do testing. So all the instances are now AI run. It's much more efficient, automated, and that's typically being used by all the tech companies. And then we have internally, I think customer support has been using AI, and then translation, these type of things. Like previously without AI, the translation was just headache. We have like 26 languages. But the problem is we have a lot of crypto terms that's very kind of customized to the industry. So we couldn't use Google Translate or these other things. The AI, you can train them and gradually they understand, hodler and, go to the moon and things like that. So that has been proven good. I'm not sure how hacking and maybe he knows more about hackers, how to use it. To be honest, most of the hacking cases we've seen, the large ones, are all social engineers. They have nothing to do with technology.
Most of the hackers are social engineers, you said.
Because that's the easiest to penetrate.
Really?
You like hackers are also lazy people,
Yeah. That's the easiest.
Yeah, they want to target. They want to find targets which they can easily get.
So what do you mean by social engineering?
They send to DevOps the proposal for a new job in LinkedIn or whatever. There is vulnerability attached to either the PDF document or a picture, or the DevOps sign up for some Calendly, and his password is exposed. And then attackers, they got his account, and then they start to get into the infrastructure of the company, and they start to search for the private keys. They start to search how the first of all hot wallets are operating, because obviously hot wallets, they are automated, so some of the system have access to the private keys, and they try to understand how they can hack it, and eventually they prepare the attack when there is the biggest possible liquidity on the hot wallets, and they drain it.
That's crazy.
They even could be a girlfriend that you recently meet, or a boyfriend. You never know. Could be a hacker, if you're a big target.
You just never know.
Or someone you hired recently.
Is there
Very
a lot
well.
of protocol for your team here?
No. The protocol in Bybit now is zero trust. I don't trust myself, and I tell the security, I don't trust you. You don't trust me, and let's not trust each other. So the system is built in a way that you cannot trust anyone, and you assume someone already got in, and you assume someone already in the system. Then you assume you're gonna get hacked again. Then let's just hope that it's not gonna be that big of amount. So you assume all these things, and then you do it accordingly.
And that's what you have to also train your team to just have that mentality that like you can't.
I say,
don't
okay, if
trust
we get hacked
anyone.
again, what is the maximum amount we're gonna get hacked? Answer me. Why is that so? Because this, that. Okay, what if this guy got hired? So.
Wow. By the way, Ben, I'm coming from a PR angle. I run Luna PR, and the way you handled crisis was exemplary. Like, I know from a PR perspective, that will go down in textbooks for us to learn the way you handled it. I'm curious, what's next for you? The crisis happened, you handled it very well. You guys executed as well. And I know from previous interviews you mentioned that your numbers have recovered in terms of users and the liquidity that was on the exchanges.
Yep.
What are you doing now in the future to keep instilling that trust in users and keep the confidence of your investors at a solid level?
Number one is we want to help the industry to deal with these hacking issues in the future. So we launched LazarusBounty.com, and we're actually doing modification on the site to allow other victims to come on, and we have a whole dedicated team to help the future victim to trace, especially on Lazarus or any of these major hackers, because it's very sophisticated. And I'm sure we're not going to be the last case. And I hope we're going to maintain the largest. No one get larger than me, and I hope. But we hope. But if any victim happens, we can help in that way. So that's one. Number two, I think, is that we want to be more transparent on our security and wallet setup. Obviously, a lot of regulator and clients have been asking what is our exact hot, warm, setup. So we actually just did we had a security firm that did complete white box and black box penetration test, meaning they had the code of my existing warm and hot wallet, and they ran it and they see the bugs and we fixed it. And then we'll release that report, and we're gonna make it transparent every quarter to release this type of report. And of course, working with guys like Hacken I think transparency is the key. And if you talk about PR, what I did was simply being transparent. And I think moving on to continue to do so, you continue to be more transparent, even about things that exchanges don't talk about, such as the wallet setup. And I think my belief is, if you are transparent and everyone knows your setup is actually being tested more.
You're transparent and vocal. Even if you didn't know something at the moment, you just said I don't know right now, but I'm trying to figure it out. So I think that's also, I'm just thinking from a PR perspective, that's something that you really hit the nail on the head. Dyma, what about you?
Yeah, I want to add that this Lazarus Bounty and the whole thing, how hackers were laundering the crypto, it highlighted one of the biggest problems, that this chain analysis, other companies, they don't do real-time blacklisting, and that allows hackers to launder the crypto even through centralized exchanges. I think and I hear that the lesson gonna be learned, and all these companies will start maybe not blacklisting but gray listing real time the crypto, and that will give the signals to exchange that they need to block immediately. Because previously, I will explain why they have this lag of couple of days before blacklisting because they were afraid of the lawsuits if they blacklist some of the wallets that have been poisoned by hackers, because hackers understand how the chain analysis work and they send dirty crypto to some big wallets so that the company cannot understand is it the hacker wallet or not. So they understand this problem. They're gonna fix it. They will not the blacklist but gray list, and that will allow to save millions and maybe even $billions in the future.
Dyma, we touched base on, Bybit's future plans, but what about Hacken? Like, what's Hacken doing to make sure that you guys stay ahead of the curve with your security systems implementations? Like, how do you aim to be the leader in cybersecurity?
We try to focus on the core. We try to focus on our technical expertise and to widen the services and products that we provide to our customers. I'm ex-Deloitte. I worked 8 years at Deloitte. I love this company. I like how they build this network, and our aim is to build similar network. It's called federation style network. While when we don't expand to regions through like opening offices or hiring BDs, we find entrepreneurs, we give them the market research, we give them all the tools, all our products, brand, quality control, background search of new clients, and we keep only like minority in their business. So they run the business with 90-80%. This is the way how we can expand to Asian markets, to North American markets, because currently Hacken is like #1 in Europe, Middle East, but of course we want to build very big player, very powerful one.
Global presence.
Yep.
Awesome. So last question, what do exchanges look like in 5 years? Will they survive the way they currently are today? What do they need to implement just to, I guess, survive the next couple of years?
What do you mean survive? You mean potentially there's going to be more hacking happen, or how?
Yeah, like imagine in 5 years, like the space has come such a long way already. There's so many advancements, so many institutions coming in, constant regulatory frameworks being put into place and changes. How do exchanges survive and grow?
Yeah, so #1 is don't fuck up. The most one died is their own fuck up. It was never the external factors. If you look at all the ones that died,
Don't mess up, like in what sense?
risk control,
Right.
Mostly risk control, security control, risk management, and these type of things. This industry is extremely forgiving, meaning that if you don't, screw up on these areas, as an exchange, or especially existing exchange, you already have a good P&L. It's very hard to die if you actually do these things right. I mean, we experienced the 1.5 billion world hardest hack. We recovered within 20 days.
Crazy.
So it shows the industry is extremely resilient. And actually, exchanges are at the best spot to survive. I mean, so most ones is over-exaggerating, over-leveraged, too much risk, FTX, these type of things that happen that really cause the exchange to collapse. #1 is that. #2, I think as an exchange, you need to always stay ahead of the curve to keep trying on the new things that's happening in the industry. And I think the latest now is most exchanges are going into Web3, exploring direct connections. Kind of, it's not really a sex versus DEX. The story is now sex plus DEX, right? You've seen all these exchanges incorporating into Web3. Users can directly trade the wallet, and things like that. And I think it's because people see that clients are now going directly into Web3. They can actually escape the routes of exchange, such as Trump, the meme coin, they go directly through on DEXs. So I think next thing is always making sure the exchange are staying ahead of the curve, give people the product they need. But overall, exchange is a critical element of the industry, and I'm not too worried about survivabilities. Unless, we can screw it up.
#1, don't F up. #2, stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I believe in 5 years there'll be like very clear distinguishes from what we start between CEXs and brokers. The brokers will choose their main exchange and they will start receiving local licenses, and it's also a way to expand for biggest players. And I think the biggest centralized exchanges will start competing with Nasdaq and other stock markets for the liquidity, and that will be their next big thing, where hopefully they're gonna win, because yeah, I'm for crypto. I want our crypto native bros have the biggest liquidity.
I think Bybit and Hacken, the way you guys have handled the situation, as I mentioned, has been exemplary. I think a lot of people will learn from this, and this will go down in history books of the way you handle it. And I think that's what the industry is about. Mistakes will happen, but I think it's just about how you handle it. And what you guys did was incredible. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, before we go, I want to really express my appreciation Hacken. They really, at those critical moments, I think Dyma personally reached out and for help. And actually, they did help us a lot, because we do the audited proof of reserve with them, even before the hack for how long? 6 months, 1 year, right? So he knows exactly, he also look at our own treasury. He knows exactly how much money we have. And they were willing to stick their neck out and say, look, Ben, if you're okay with it, we can send out a post and tell the world that you can actually cover the fund. And they did, so that was really significant. It was really helped.
I was sleeping on the plane when it happened. The phone was like
No, this
really
is-
beeping.
This is why I recommend all the exchange to have a third-party audit, because when shit like that happens, you have someone who is a neutral person telling the world what you really practice, what you really do, and that give a lot of confidence to your community and clients. And that's when really this whole thing helped.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank God for Wi-Fi on the planes, right? I think it gives users a lot of validation to see that security firms kind of back these cases. That's amazing.
All good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.